everyone, welcome back to Biophilia, your all-time study mate. Today we are going to continue with the neural control and coordination to understand about the eye. If you like this video and get some help, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our amazing channel Biophilia. So here we are to understand another sense organ that is going to be the human eye. So human eye एक बहुत ही ज़्यादा अनोखी चीज़ है because this human eye is going to be operating on the same basic principle as that of a camera. So कैमरा कितनी यूनिक चीज़ है राइट कैमरा इज जस्ट सो अमेजिंग बट कैमरा के अंदर की फोटो देखने के लिए भी you need your own little personal camera that is nothing but your human eye. So this human eye is a roughly spherical structure and this is going to have a wall. So eyeball होता है eyeball की एक wall होती है that is going to be composed of the three concentric layers. Now these concentric layers are what? These are going to be the external layer also called as the sclera or fibrous tunic because it is majorly kind of a fibrous tissue. The second one is the middle layer also called as uvea or the vascular tunic. Why vascular? Because here a lot of blood supply is going to be present. और third layer होगी the innermost layer that is the retina. और ये retina क्या होता है जैसे you know when you go in a theater to watch a movie. So movie देखने के लिए वहाँ पे एक प्रोजेक्टर का पर्दा होता है. सो प्रोजेक्टर का जो पर्दा होता है या जो प्रोजेक्टर की जो स्क्रीन होती है दैट स्क्रीन इज नथिंग बट गोइंग टू बी द रेटिना जहाँ पे जो भी इमेज योर आई बॉल इज कैचिंग और द प्यूपिल इज एंटरिंग all that will be seen on the retina and be recognized by the retina. So here you can see how is the camera compared to a human eye. For example, here you can see when you are watching the film that is going to be the retina. That is जहाँ पे पिक्चर कैप्चर हो रहा है जहाँ से डायफ्राम यानी फोकस कहाँ से हो रहा है डायफ्राम से फोकस होगा whereas in human eye iris is going to help in the focusing of the image whereas aperture यानी जहाँ से लाइट एंटर हो रही है that is going to be the pupil whereas lens remains the same whereas the black paint जिसकी वजह से light reflections कम होंगे and that is nothing but the choroid layer. So you can very well understand how a human eye is nothing but the camera for the human body. So here we also see that आंखों को वही चीज दिखती है जो उसके रेंज में या रीजन में आती है. So whatever is the region of the particular eye या you say the region of environment जहाँ से light rays collect होके आपके आंखों पे आके enter करके you can see those images are nothing but called as a visual field. So the light rays that can get captured and they can be seen is nothing but the visual field. Now here we are moving on to understand about the three layers of the eyeball. So सबसे बाहर की layer that is the external layer. So this external layer is nothing but sclera. So this sclera is going to be what it is also called as the fibrous tunic. Now why is it fibrous tunic? As I told there is going to be a fibrous tissue और ये fibrous tissue composed होता है of dense connective tissue and because of the dense connective tissue it is going to appear milky white in color. So whatever part do you see the white colored area in your eye is going to be the sclera. But sclera का एक part ऐसा भी होता है that is transparent. So the part that is going to be transparent is going to be called as cornea. Now the dome structure, because of the dome structure, the sclera, how is it? It is not completely flat. It is going to be a domed structure. And on the dome structure, जो सबसे ज़्यादा curved area होगा, that curved area is nothing but the cornea. So this cornea is going to act as the refracting structure because light rays needs to get bent and bending of light is going to be called as refraction. So it is not reflection, the light rays are not bouncing back off the eye but वो eye के अंदर enter कर रहे हैं by bending. So bending phenomenon is the refraction. So as soon as the light rays will bend because of the cornea, they are going to enter into the inner eye, and once they enter into the inner eye, they are going to get focused onto the retina. So the surface of the cornea needs to be protected, needs to be kept moist, because cornea एक जगह है जहाँ पे refraction होगा, and if refraction is not properly done, then the vision can also get disturbed. So cornea को moist रखना जरूरी है, dust free रखना जरूरी है. Now how is it that possible? Moist रखना है यानी there should be some moisture, some water content, और dust free रखना है तो there should be continuous movement of water so that nothing stays into that area. So that is going to be coming from the secretions of the tear glands. So आपके आंखों में जो एक गीलापन रहता है, that is going to be because of the tear glands that are continuously secreting tears. And once you feel emotional, when you don't feel like yourself, when you are sad, at that time this tear gland secretions will increase, and because of that they will generate and fall down as tears. और या आपके आंखों में धूल चली गई है, या कुछ कीड़ा अंदर चला गया, या आपने उंगली डाल दी, इरिटेट हो रहा है आंख, so that irritation needs to be removed so that your crucial part of the body, that is your eyes, do not get damaged. So tear gland secretion is going to increase. So that is also one case जहाँ पे secretion increase हो जाएगी. Coming to the next part, that is choroid. So choroid is going to be the layer that is similar to that of the black paint, right? So choroid कैसा है? Choroid is like the black paint that is going to be inside the camera. So black paint का क्या काम होता है? As you all know that black paint or the black color is going to be the color that is least refractive, right? Black paint पे से reflection बहुत ज़्यादा कम होता है, and because it is not getting reflected, because of that you cannot see that color, that is a black space, right? So the choroid layer is going to be deeply pigmented with melanin, or deeply pigmented है, so it is going to be reducing the reflection. So what is the work of choroid? It is going to reduce the reflections as the light rays enter into the inner eyes areas. So वहाँ पे reflection ना हो कि double images, triple images या image बहुत धुंधली दिख रही है, ऐसा ना हो. Because of that there is going to be the choroid layer. Now this choroid layer is going to be well versed with the blood vessels, and it will start looking bluish in color, but it will not be visible from outside क्योंकि ये अंदर के साइड पे होती है choroid, right? So बाहर से you can just see the sclera, the white part, but behind the white part you are going to see the choroid. So as I told you, this choroid is going to prevent reflections of the light rays, and this choroid is going to become thick. ये जैसे uniform layer नहीं है. In one part, in one area, that is the posterior 2/3 part of the eyeball, वहाँ पे ये thin है. But the anterior part, that is anterior 1/3 part, is going to become thick. And this thickening is nothing but called as the ciliary body. So these ciliary body are going to continue forward and form the opaque structure or the pigmented structure of the eye, that is called as iris. So यहाँ पे हमने दो चीजों के बारे में extra पढ़ा है. So choroid, that is the first main layer that we were studying, that was the deeply pigmented layer. That was meant for the prevention of reflections. But this choroid layer is not uniform. The posterior 2/3 part, यानी पीछे का 2/3 part कैसा है? It is going to be thin enough, but the anterior part is very thick, and this thick part is nothing but going to be called as the ciliary bodies, and this ciliary bodies that is present at the anterior 1/3 part is going to be continuing to form your iris. So the colored part of the eye is nothing but called as iris. So that was about the choroid, ciliary body and the iris. Now moving to understand much in detail about iris, that is the colored part of the eye. So जैसे आप बोलते हो ना eye color क्या है. So once you are describing about the different eye colors, for example, some people have black eyes, some people have blue eyes, hazel eyes, green eyes, gray eyes, brown eyes. All these colors are nothing but of what part? It is the iris. So this iris is going to be having a small little opening, small little aperture. This opening or aperture is called as pupil. So this pupil is going to allow the light rays to enter into your eye. Now अब ये entry जो है, this entry is not a free entry. There needs to be some guard, and this guard will regulate how much light rays should enter so that your eyes are protected. जैसे आपके घर के बाहर या सोसाइटी के बाहर एक वॉचमैन खड़ा रहता है to guard the entry of people or the exit of people. So here only the entry is going to matter. So that regulation of the diameter of pupil is going to be controlled by the radial muscles. So these muscles are going to control the pupil aperture, the pupil opening, so that once these are going to contract, these muscles when contract, there will be dilatation of the pupil. Dilation हो रहा है, that means the aperture or the radius of the pupil is going to increase. So here you can see in the image, when the muscles are going to contract, there will be pupil dilation. Pupil dilation जब होगा during the dim light, because in the dim light you need to have more light rays entering inside, क्योंकि वहां पे आपको ज्यादा light rays चाहिए to form a image. So during that time the aperture is going to be increased, pupil बड़ा हो जाएगा. But as soon as you go in the bright sun है यानी bright light है, so उस time पे you don't need a lot of light rays, because if वहां पे भी बहुत ज़्यादा light rays आ रहे होंगे, it will damage the internal content of the eye. So you want to protect it. So once you need to protect it, what will happen? The muscles are going to contract, but here instead of radial muscles, the circular muscles are going to contract. This is the important part to be remembered. जब dim light होती है, तब radial muscles are going to contract, that is towards the radius, whereas in bright light, the circular muscles are going to get contract. And because of the circular muscles getting contract, the pupil is going to contract, the pupil is going to constrict, वो छोटा हो जाएगा. So you see, जब पिक्चर्स आप खींचते हो ब्राइट लाइट में ड्यूरिंग द डे, सनी डे, आपकी आंखें छोटी छोटी नजर आती है. वाई? बिकॉज यू आर ट्राइंग टू कॉन्ट्रैक्ट द pupil, as well as for additional protection, your inbuilt reflex is that you close your eyelids. So that kind, because of those reasons, there is going to be smalling of the eyes. So this automatic control of pupil diameter is going to be helpful for improving the image formation ability. यानी अगर dim light है, light कम है, तो बहुत ज्यादा light rays को अंदर आने देना है, या bright light है तो कम करना है. So all that thing is going to be done as like of the diaphragm in the camera. So altering the diameter of the pupil so that to get the sharpest image, वो कौन कर रहा है? It is done by the part of iris, which is the visible colored part of the eye. Moving to the next, that is the retina. Retina जो है वो है हमारा प्रोजेक्टर का पर्दा, प्रोजेक्टर की स्क्रीन, where the image is going to be formed. So this image is going to be formed on a layer that has 3 layers of cells. So these cells are nothing but the ganglion cells, the bipolar cells, and the photoreceptor cells, which are classified further as rods and cones. So there is going to be a pigment layer that is the non-visual portion, whereas the neural portion is going to be the visual portion. And the pigment part जो है that is not involved in the vision part, यानी वो light को sense नहीं करेगी, but the neural part of the retina is going to sense the light. So pigment layer में क्या होता है? Pigment layer is going to be a melanin containing epithelial sheet which is going to lie between the choroid. So this melanin in the choroid and the pigment layer is going to absorb all the excess light. So whatever is the excess light, that should not scatter into the eyeball, so that the image is going to be only onto the neural part of the retina, so that सिर्फ वहाँ पे ही light concentrate हो and the image is going to remain sharp and clear. So because of that, the work of the pigment layer. So pigment layer is going to again go and spread over the choroid as well. It will spread on the ciliary bodies and even on the iris. But the nervous layer that is related to the vision is only going to terminate at the ciliary body layer, और जहाँ पे ये terminate होता है that point is called as ora serrata. Right, जहाँ पे terminate होगा that is going to be called as ora serrata. So here you can see in the image wherein the cells are going to be arranged. So जो बाहर का layer है, the outermost layer, that is going to be called as the sclera. Then you see the choroid layer. Then you have the pigment epithelium. Then the visual epithelium is going to start from this region that is having rods, cones, the bipolar cells, the ganglion cells. All these cells are going to be seen. Coming to the first type of cells, that is rods. So these rods have a function in the dim light. Rods सबसे ज़्यादा active कब होते हैं? During the dim light, because during the dim light, or you can say during the twilight or the scotopic vision, that is black and white vision, यानी जहाँ पे light कम है, उस time पे these rods are going to be super active. And how are they going to sense light? These are going to sense light because they have a purplish red protein called as rhodopsin, or even called as visual purple. So these are present in the membranes of rods, and because the rhodopsin is a protein containing opsin. So opsin नाम का एक protein है which is having carotenoid retinal. So opsin कैसे बना है? Rhodopsin is formed because of two components. The first component being retinal, which is light orange in color, whereas optin, which is the protein part, that is going to comprise together the rhodopsin, forming the deep purplish red color, right? Now once you are understanding कि अभी ये rods को sense करना है light, so how is that going to occur? It is going to occur because when the light rays is absorbed, so light rays जब भी ये rods पे गिरेगा, what will happen? The rhodopsin, that is the deep purplish red colored cells, these are going to be getting split. जब split होता है, they will form the components that is retinal and opsin. And now this are going to be the case जहाँ पे ये split हो जाते हैं. During the process of split, what will happen? The rods will appear bleached. When the rods are going to appear bleached, that means there is going to be formation of black and white image. So जहाँ जहाँ पे भी light rays fall होंगी, for example, you are having this kind of retina जहाँ पे बहुत सारे rods है and cones है. So during night vision, what will happen when the light rays are less in quantity? There is going to be light rays falling. जैसे ही light rays यहाँ पे fall करेंगी, there is going to be bleaching action of these rods. और जैसे ही bleaching action होगा, bleach डालने पे क्या होता है, चीजें सफेद हो जाती है. So that area will become white. So for example, एक यहाँ पे light rays गिरी, एक यहाँ पे गिरी, एक यहाँ पे गिरी, यहाँ पे गिरी. All that is going to become the area of white, and because of that you can see a kind of black and white image during the night time. So that is how the rods are going to function in the night vision. So how is this rhodopsin going to be synthesized? So body में जो vitamin A होता है, this vitamin A is going to be a large reservoir for the synthesis of retinal. So retinal क्या है? Retinal is the component of rhodopsin, and rhodopsin is very important component of rods. So if you want to have vision, retinal is very important, and for retinal synthesis vitamin A is important. So vitamin A खाने की वजह से, that is the reason we say कि vitamin A contains, that is all the yellow fruits or vegetables, these are going to be rich in vitamin, which will improve your eyesight. So that is the function, or that is the thing to be understood with vitamin A and vision relation. The next type of cells are the cones. So these cones are nothing but operating at bright light, or you can say these are enabling us to see the day vision. अब डे विजन में, दिन के समय में, you can see a lot many more colors. So whatever colors you can see right now on the screen, that is because of the cones. So the cones have the function of daylight vision, or you can say the photopic vision, because photo हमें कैसा पसंद है? We like a colored photo, we like a colored vision that we can see in the daylight because of the cones. So these cones are of three types, and three types are based on the three different pigments. So these pigments are called as photopigments, which are comprising of the red, then we see the green pigment, and lastly we see the blue pigment. So what are these different pigments, and what did we sense? So blue cones जो होते हैं, that have blue pigment called as cyanopsin. So cyano word is related to blue. So blue green algae you call cyanobacteria. So like that, this blue colored cones having pigment cyanopsin is going to sense the short wavelength lights, whereas the green cones which are having chloropsin, so chlorophyll, green colored pigment, so chloro is related to green, which will sense the medium wavelengths, whereas the red color, so red color erythropoietin, that is erythrocytes, red blood cells, RBCs. So these are the red cones which will sense the long wavelengths. So because of the combination of short wavelength or medium or long, these cones are going to get activated. और जैसे ही cones activate होंगे, what will be the result of it? You are going to see a colored vision. So majorly you need to understand one thing, that in the retina there are going to be approximately about 100 millions of rods. How many rods do the retina have, or how many rods do our eye have? Approximately there is going to be 100 million rods. But once it comes to the part of cones, cones are somewhat less in number. And less in number, that means here you can see in the image, as compared to the rods which are whitish in color, the cones which is colored are less. So because of that, जो आपको रात में चीजें दिखती है, those are going to be black and white, because rods are more in number. These can sense the light more easily than the cones which are lesser in number. So that is the major reason why we see black and white during the dim lights or during the night time. The next is the cells, that is bipolar cells and the ganglion cells. So once we have covered about the photoreceptor cell layer, now we come to the short sensory area that is going to be comprised of the bipolar cells. So these bipolar cells, to the inner area, there are going to be retinal ganglion cells. So the bipolar cells, they are going to synapse to the ganglion cells. So यहाँ पे हो गए हमारे bipolar cells. So these bipolar cells are going to get synapsed to the next cell, that is the retinal ganglion cells. So here in the image as well you can see the bipolar neurons and the ganglion cells. These are going to be present. So pigment epithelium we saw, the part of retina. We saw the rod cells, we saw the cone cells. So after the rod and cone cells, the next part is the bipolar neurons and the ganglion cells. So जैसे ही rods या cones ने light को sense किया है, it might be a colored light or a black and white light, whatever it is, whatever is sensed by these receptors will be sent to the bipolar neurons. Now these bipolar neurons are the neural part. That means these are going to have conduction of action potential. So action potential bipolar neurons से कहा जाएगा, they will go into the ganglion cells, and the ganglion cells, these are going to have axons, and these axons are going to all get combined and form the optic nerve fiber. So that optic nerve fiber is going to collectively be called as the optic nerve. So that is the important point about the axons of the ganglion cells. So as soon as the formation of optic nerve occurs, the optic nerve is going to leave the eye, यानी eyeball से बाहर जाएगी, and eyeball से जब बाहर जाएगी, at that particular point, the retinal blood vessels are also going to enter from that point. So where is that point जहाँ पे optic nerve जो है वो बाहर जा रही है, and in exchange, what is entering inside? The blood vessels are going to enter inside, and that particular place जहाँ पे ये अंदर बाहर का सिलसिला हो रहा है, that is going to be at the posterior of the eyeball. That is called as blind spot. So you might have heard about blind spot, जहाँ पे image formation नहीं होती है. So why does image formation do not occur at the blind spot? So this is the reason for it. That is, the optic nerve is going to leave from that particular area, from that particular spot, and because of the optic nerve is leaving from that area, there are no rods and cones present, और वहाँ पे receptors का absence होने की वजह से you are not going to sense any sort of light, and since you cannot sense any light at that particular spot, there will be a blind spot. As blind spots in sense, there will be no image formation at that particular part of the retina. The next is the photoreceptor cells. As I told you, they are not present in the blind spot. No image is going to be formed at that area, called the name as blind spot. The next we see is the second area or the second spot of the retina that you should know is the macula luteae. What is this part? It is the yellow spot, or just lateral to the blind spot, a yellowish spot is present, और ये yellowish spot होता है एक depression में, एक pit में, और ये pit का नाम होता है fovea. So this fovea is a thinned out portion of retina where only cones are going to be present. Only cones, that means only colored vision. So because of many cones are present in this thin part of the retina, there is going to be the resolution and the vision is going to be sharpest. So vision sharp है, बहुत ज़्यादा clear है, HD resolution है. All this thing is going to be present at what spot? At the fovea. Why? Because there is going to be density of cones increased at that particular area. So here in the image also you can see very well where is the fovea centralis and where is the optic disc, or you can say that is the blind spot. So at the blind spot you can see the optic nerve is exiting, whereas in exchange the blood vessels are going to enter into the eye. The next part is the vitreous and the aqueous chamber. So lens or iris जो होते हैं, these two are going to be the substances which are going to divide the eyeball into two major chambers. So एक eyeball है, ये eyeball को यहाँ पे iris और lens ने divide कर दिया. So जो भी आगे का part है, that is the anterior part, this anterior part is called as aqueous chamber, whereas the posterior part is going to be called as the vitreous chamber, or you can say as the vitreous chamber having a fluid. So anterior chamber जो है, anterior chamber के अंदर क्या होगा, there is going to be aqueous chamber. The anterior one is the aqueous chamber which is between the cornea and the lens. So यहाँ पे आगे है cornea और किसने डिवाइड किया, लेंस ने. So aqueous chamber में होगा aqueous humor. The fluid that is present into that area is aqueous humor and this will be drained. इनका जो circulation होगा वो कैसे होगा, the new aqueous humor will be secreted and it will be drained into the blood. But in the posterior chamber, that is vitreous chamber, or you can say the part which is between the lens and the retina, that is going to be filled with a transparent semi-solid gelatinous material. जो aqueous humor होता है, it is very liquidy, watery, right? Aqueous humor कैसा होता है? It is very much watery, it is very fluid in nature. Whereas the vitreous humor which is present in the vitreous chamber, that is going to be very semi-solid jelly-like substance, and because of the consistency it will not be drained out and it is going to remain fixed into that area. So this function is to support the eyeball का shape maintain करने के लिए या to protect as shock absorbers, this vitreous humor is going to function. Now, as we have seen the different parts of the eye, now we need to see how the eye is able to see different images, or you can say different objects at different distances. हर चीज एक ही distance पे हो जरूरी नहीं है. Some distances are closer to you, some are far away from you, but still you can see all the objects around you. How is that possible? कैमरा है तो कैमरा का फोकस चेंज हो जाता है, बट इन द ह्यूमन आई व्हाट विल हैपन, देयर इज गोइंग टू बी अ एबिलिटी ऑफ द आई टू चेंज इट्स फोकल लेंथ. अगर फोकल लेंथ आई लेंसेस का चेंज हो जाएगा, व्हाट विल हैपन, the images will be much more clear and you can see objects at different distances. So that ability of eye is nothing but called as accommodation. So this accommodation is going to allow the eye to adjust its focus so that you can see the objects which are at a distance from you, जो आपसे दूर है, या कुछ चीजें जो आपसे पास है. So how is that going to occur? So to change the focal length of the lenses, you are going to need the ability to bend the light. So how is the process of bending of light is going to be done? So bending of light, or to focus the image, there is going to be the help of ligaments जो present होंगे at the ciliary body, and along with it you also need muscles. So ciliary muscles are going to be present. So the ligaments and the muscles will work in opposition. यानी अगर ligaments contract होंगे तो muscles will get relaxed. So vice versa, they will help to change the curvature of the lens. And now let us understand how the changes occurs so that the lens can get accommodated so that you can see the objects very clearly. So the muscles that we are going to see, that is the ciliary muscles, these when are going to relax, the ligaments are going to get contracted, because as I told, अगर muscles ने काम किया है तो ligaments काम नहीं करेगा. That is, if muscles are relaxing, the ligaments will work, but when muscles are working, that is muscles are contracted, the ligaments will relax. So ये दोनों बहुत समझदार है, ये दोनों एक साथ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट या दोनों एक साथ रिलैक्स नहीं करेंगे. So what is the change that occurs in the lens because of this contraction and relaxation in the muscles and ligaments? So अगर muscles relaxed है, ligaments contracted है, so the lens is going to go flat. So once the lens gets flat, the vision is going to be a far distance vision. यानी आप दूर की चीजें देख पाओगे, because once the lens is flat, what will happen? it will become a concave lens. And once it becomes a concave lens, what will happen? There is going to be negative focus, and because of the negative focus, you can see the distances that are farther away from you. Whereas similarly, opposite thing will happen. Because of contraction of muscles and relaxation of ligaments. अब ये ligaments जो होते हैं, these ligaments are going to be connected to the lens. यहाँ पे बीच में lens है and ligaments connected है, और यहाँ पे हमारे होंगे ciliary muscles. So now you can understand. Now if the ligaments are getting relaxed, यानी ligaments पीछे हो गए हैं, these are relaxed, these are not pulling onto the lens, these are relaxed, that means the lens will become spherical. आप कोई चीज को खींच रहे हो, आप balloon को खींच रहे हो, then what will happen? That means suppose you have a balloon in your hand and you try to pull the balloon, or you try to pull the rubber sheet. The hands with which you are pulling, that means the ligaments are getting contracted. यानी वो चीज फैल रही है, और फैल रही है, that means the spherical thing or the lens is getting flattened. So that is the case when the ligaments are getting contracted. But आप वो जो contraction, जो pulling है, वो आप अगर छोड़ो, what will happen? The balloon or the rubber sheet will come to its, जब कुछ एक साथ हो जाएगा सब कुछ, so that will become spherical. So that is the same thing that happens when the ligaments contract or relax. So because it becomes spherical, the lens type will become more convex, having a positive focus, so that you can see the nearby objects very well. So how is this happening? Let us understand with the image. So for example, here you have the eye. So how are the light rays and everything following? Let us see. अब चीजें जो बहुत दूर है, right? जो चीजें बहुत ज्यादा दूर है, as we know, the light rays that are coming from very far away, these are going to be parallel. So what do you say? These are parallel rays. These are going to come and get reflected into the eye because of the dome structure, that is cornea. कॉर्निया से जैसे ही अंदर जाएंगे, ये लेंस पे आके गिरेंगे. अब लेंस पे आके गिरेंगे. Now what is the major function of the lens? So that it is moving accordingly to focus onto the retina. अब अगर लेंस का कोई फंक्शन नहीं होता, if lens would not have been here, what will happen? The rays will directly go parallelly, and if they go parallelly, what will happen? There will be no image formed. अब image तो देखना है, we need to see what is around us. So the lens is going to be refracting and it will converge the rays so that they fall onto the रेटिना. अब ये पैरेलल रेस है एंड पैरेलल रेस है, तो उनका जो इनकमिंग एंगल है, द एंगल ऑफ इंसिडेंस इज गोइंग टू बी 90 degree, and that needs to be decreased a lot so that the rays can fall onto the retina. So for that reason, the focal length needs to be increased. So in that case, what will happen? The lens will become thick. और लेंस जैसे ही थिन हो जाएगा, थिन करने के लिए क्या चाहिए? We need to relax the muscles and the ligaments should get contracted, यानी पुलिंग एक्शन होना चाहिए. और जैसे ही पुलिंग एक्शन होगा, the lens will become thin and the rays will be onto the retina. So this is going to be the case for the far away objects. So how does the eye see your far away objects? So in real life, you are going to see the nearby thing is going to be blurred, whereas farther things are much more clear. Whereas the opposite case is going to be once you see a nearby object. Okay, your object is near to you, then the incident rays will have angle which is less. Okay, you will have a lesser angle, and because of it is a lesser angle, उनका जो bending है, that needs to be comparatively lesser, and because of that the lens can go thick. So in that case, what will happen? The ciliary muscles will get relaxed and the muscles will get contracted, and because of that, once the rays are projected onto the retina, you will see that the nearby object. So here in the real life photo, what can you see? The lady standing in front is at focus, whereas the background is going in blur. So that is the case when there is a nearby vision. So at the nearby vision, there will be smaller focal length and more converging power, whereas in the faraway objects, there will be larger focal length and small converging power. So that is about how the eye is going to accommodate different kinds of light rays coming from different distances of the objects. Next part is how is this exactly going to help you to see or to understand the vision. अब लाइट रेस आ रही है रेटिना पे गिर रही है बट रेटिना से अगर ब्रेन तक कोई इंफॉर्मेशन पहुंची ही नहीं या ब्रेन ने उसको इंटरप्रेट ही नहीं किया देन यू आर नॉट एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट द लाइट रेज आर फॉलिंग. So for that reason it is very important to understand about how the vision is going to function. So here we see that once the light rays are being focused onto the retina, there is going to be light rays falling onto the retina. Retina पे है बहुत सारे different kinds of cells. So what kind of cells were there onto the retina? We had rods, there were cones, so rods the, cones the. Then we also had bipolar cells, the ganglion cells. So first very important cells were the rods and cones, जहाँ पे pigments थे that were going to get activated because of the light rays. So once the rods and cones are getting activated because of the lights falling onto the retina, they are going to dissociate. So rods में था the rhodopsin. So rhodopsin जैसे ही dissociate होगा to form the retinal and opsin. So because of the structural change in the opsin, there is going to be much more membrane permeability. So membrane permeability यानी जो cell membrane होती है उस पे कुछ receptors होते हैं. There are some proteins which are going to act like guards. So now these guards are going to get much more relaxed because opsin is changing its structure. So जो pores पहले छोटे छोटे हुआ करते थे वो अब बड़े हो जाएंगे and many more things can enter down easily. So because of the permeability changes, there is going to be a potential difference generated. As soon as there is a potential difference generated, that means action potential set हो चुका है. और action potential कहाँ set होगा? Action potential set होगा into the ganglionic cells through the bipolar cells. So bipolar cells से ganglion cells पर जाएगा और ganglion cells के axons क्या कर रहे थे? The axons were forming the optic nerve. So these action potentials will finally go to the optic nerve और optic nerve कहाँ पे जाके terminate होगी? At the visual cortex of the brain. So as soon as it reaches the visual cortex of the brain, there is going to be image formation will be understood very much clearly. So image formation या जो भी action potential pass on हुए थे to the visual cortex at that particular area based on memory or based on experience, you can identify those particular things. So one thing that you need to understand over here ki how is this going to happen? So the optic nerve is going to go into the visual cortex of the brain. And what is the visual cortex of the brain? It is going to be the occipital lobe. What lobe is it? It is the occipital lobe present in the cerebrum. So cerebrum में जब भी ये action potentials जाते हैं और उस टाइम पे जो image brain interpret करता है, that particular image is how it is going to be inverted. Very important that you need to be understood. It will be inverted, it will be reversed. यानी फॉर एग्जाम्पल जो आपके आईज सेंस कर रहे हैं वो ऑब्जेक्ट ऐसा है यानी एरो हेड ऊपर है बट व्हाट योर ब्रेन सीज ओके what your eye see and what your brain sees the object that is reversed. So brain आपका अगर object उल्टा देख रहा है then you can understand what your eye is undergoing, right? So अगर आपको arrow ऊपर दिख रहा है but your brain is understanding that the arrow head is going to be downwards, but This is how the normal thing the brain sees at objects. जो brain में memory है या जो भी experience है, all that is stored in this reference how the brain sees it. But whatever the interpretation will be, that will be according to it. Okay, so whatever you see, it's the eye's perspective, but how does the brain look at it? It will be the image that is inverted and reversed, right? So that is one important thing that needs to be understood in this particular area. Now what is the other thing that you need to understand? अब जो light rays आ जा रहे हैं, right? Light rays that are falling onto the retina, what will be the a track of this light? So first of all, there is going to be light which is going to be falling onto the retina. और retina पर सबसे पहले कौन से cells होंगे? These are going to be the photoreceptor cells. So जैसे ही light आएगी, it will fall onto the photoreceptor cells. From the photoreceptor cells, it will reach to the bipolar cells. Bipolar cells पे से it will go to the ganglion cells. And these ganglionic cells are going to have their axons, which will form the optic nerve. और optic nerve finally कहाँ जाएगी? It will go to the occipital lobe that is present in the cerebrum. So that is the track of how the light is going to travel. But light will travel up to what? It will travel up to the photoreceptor cells. And from here, what will travel? The impulse is going to travel, or you can say the action potential will travel. So from light energy, it will be converted into the electrical energy, that is the impulse. So that was about the mechanism of the vision. Next we see what are the protective devices of eye. अब जैसे eye एक बहुत ज़्यादा important sense organ है of your body, because this is going to be the windows of your body. यही है जो आपको देखने में help कर रहा है. There is no other organ that will help you to see. So eye should not get damaged. And when eye should not get damaged, there needs to be some protection. The protection number one is provided by nature, that is eyebrows. Now these eyebrows, you might think eyebrows to hote hai, okay, nothing will happen. But just imagine what if eyebrows are not there. So these are two little arched eminences of skin having numerous hairs projecting obliquely from the surface of the skin. Now, what is the major function of eyebrows? First of all, it is going to protect the anterior aspect of the eyeball from sweat, from dust and other foreign bodies. अगर eyebrows नहीं होते, eyebrows पे अगर बाल नहीं होते, so what would have happened? That is eminence. Okay, eyebrows, eyebrow का जो bone होता है, it is somewhat raised. You can feel that your eyes are sunken inside in the skull. Why? Because there is eminence at the place of your eyebrows. So eyebrows का जो eminence है, because of that, the sweat that is going to drip out from your forehead, it will not directly enter into your eyeball. वो डाइवर्ट हो जाएगा, उसकी स्पीड कम हो जाएगी, या इट विल बी हेल्प्ड बिकॉज ऑफ द हेयर्स. बाल भी उसको रोक लेंगे थोड़े टाइम तक के लिए, so that the sweat, dust and foreign bodies do not enter into the eye and get infected. So eyebrows are one of the protective devices. The next protective device, that is eyelids or eyelashes. Again, you might feel that eyelashes to kitna importance hai, what will happen if there are no eyelids? But again, this is very important because eyelids are the two movable folds. यानी अगर आपको कोई चीज आपके आंखों के सामने आ रही है, so that is a reflex that you close your eyelids. Why? Because it is a protection so that nothing enters or nothing damages your inner parts of the eye. So that is a reflex to close your eyelids. Similarly, on the ends of the eyelids, you are going to have eyelashes, which are going to have hairs onto it. Again, the same function, that is of the eyebrows. Eyebrows ko jaise baal hai, so that it is protecting, nothing enters into your eyes. The same way eyelashes are going to help in it. So some species like dogs are going to have their third eyelid, which is going to be prominent enough. But in humans, there is going to be a vestigial third eyelid, which is called as nictitating membrane. So if you want to see where is the nictitating membrane or the third eyelid, you can see here in the diagram about the nictitating membrane, or also called as plica similionaris. So this plica similionaris is going to be seen at the inner corner of your eye, and this inner corner of your eye is also going to have a mucous membrane that is called as conjunctiva. So this conjunctiva is nothing but the inner part of your eye जहाँ पे अगर infection हो जाता है, so during the infection of conjunctiva layer you are going to suffer from what? Suffer from conjunctivitis. Okay, conjunctivitis, that is also called as red eye. So this red eye जहाँ पे आपकी आँख पूरी लाल हो जाती है, या बोलते हैं आपको आँख आ गई है. So आँख आ गई है, what is that disease that you commonly hear of during the summers? That is nothing but conjunctivitis. That is the inflammation, the infection of the conjunctiva layer that is present in your eyes. The next is the glands of Zeiss. Now glands of Zeiss are modified sebaceous glands. These sebaceous glands, these oil glands, are going to open and secrete or nutrient the eyelashes. So eyelashes को जो भी oily secretions से nourishment मिलेगा, that will come from the gland of Zeiss. So here in the diagram you can very well understand where is the location of gland of Zeiss. The next is going to be the tarsal glands or the melobium glands. These glands are going to be again modified sebaceous, that is oil glands, which will be along the eyelids. Right, so ये eyelashes के follicles पे था, whereas this will be along the edge of the eyelids. Now this oily secretions is going to lubricate the corneal surface and will also have a thin layer of tears over the cornea. So again it is protection purposes, because these are protective devices that are being placed for the eyes. The next is glands of mole. So these glands of moles are modified sweat glands. Previously two were modified sebaceous glands, that is modified oil glands, but glands of mole are modified sweat glands which are present at the edge of the eyelid. So here you can see what are the different kinds of structures that are present at the very small area in and around the eyelid. The next is conjunctiva that we spoke about, the lower part of your eye. So once you pull down your lower eyelid, you can see the conjunctiva. So conjunctiva जो है, it is going to be vascular, बहुत ज़्यादा blood supply है वहाँ पे, and it is also numerous in papillae. So over the sclera, there is going to be ocular conjunctiva, which is loosely connected to the eyeball, and it is going to be very thin, it is transparent, without papillae and slightly vascular. So reaching to the cornea, it will continue itself as corneal epithelium, and the epithelium of palpebral conjunctiva, that is near to the eyelids, that is going to help to protect the eyeball and keep it moist. So you can see the different regions of the eye. That is first, that is limbus, where the white and the iris area is going to come together. Then the distance between the two is going to be pupillar conjunctiva. So here the next part also you can see, that is the palpebral conjunctiva. The next protective gland is going to be the lacrimal apparatus. It is going to contain the lacrimal gland. This lacrimal gland is going to have many different ducts, which will be as the superior duct, the inferior duct, the lacrimal sac, the nasolacrimal duct. All these ducts, what are they going to do? These are going to secrete out tears. So tears जो है, जहाँ पे majority content water है, उसमें salt है. So tears जब आपके रोते time, some might have reached to your mouth and you might have licked those tears. So tears कैसे होते हैं? These are खारे खारे होते हैं, ये नमकीन होते हैं. These have salts in them. They also have a bactericidal protein that is called as lysozyme. So because these tears are also being secreted in your eyes so that they become moist enough and they do not allow the entry of any sort of bacteria. Why? Because these are going to have lysozymes which will destroy the microorganism that will enter into the front of the eyeball. So because of that reason only, as I told you in the previous part as well, the secretions will increase of tears when what will happen, जब आपके आंख में कुछ चला गया है, आपने उंगली डाल दी या आप रोड पे बाइक पे जा रहे हो, बहुत ज्यादा धूल चली गई अंदर, your eyes get moist, there is tears dropping down, even if you're not crying. That is because of a protective reflex, that more and more secretions will be spread out, ताकि जो भी आपके आंखों को इरिटेट कर रहा है, that will just flow out from the flow of these tears. So that is the major purpose of this tears that are dropping down of your eyes. The next is the adipose tissue or the fat layer which is going to surround the entire eyeball. So eyeball is an important organ, and as all visceral organs are going to have their protection with adipose tissue, similar with the case of eyes as well, it is going to act as a soft shock proof pad. So this fat यानी कोई भी injury से बचाने के लिए this adipose tissue is going to be functional. The next is disorders of eye. हमेशा आँख सही सलामत रहे ये सबकी इच्छा होती है, but some people are not that lucky enough, then they suffer from these disorders of eye. So very common disorders of eye are these two, that is myopia and heterometropia. So myopia, also called as nearsightedness, what is it? This is the disease or disorder that is going to not allow the person to see the distinct objects, यानी दूर की चीजें देखने में there is going to be problem. So these far away objects, once the person cannot see, then how can it be treated? As you are going to be future doctors studying about all these things, so the problem needs to be solved. So जब दूर की चीजें नहीं दिखती है, that means there is a condition of myopia or nearsightedness. That means you are going to correct it with a concave glasses. Whereas the second condition is the hypermetropia, also called as long-sightedness. Long-sightedness is nothing but long distance चीजें आप देख सकते हो. Long sightedness is that what you can see, right? What you can see is the name that is given to you. So near sightedness में आप पास की चीजें देख सकते हो, जबकि hypermetropia में आप दूर की चीजें देख सकते हो. So distinct objects are clear, but the closer objects are not clear. So generally myopia is considered to be common in young people, or जो छोटे बच्चे होते हैं उन लोगों में myopia is much more common. उनको blackboard का लिखा हुआ नहीं दिखता है, they cannot see far away objects. बहुत ज्यादा टीवी देख लिया बोलते हैं चश्मा लग गया. So that chashma is going to be a concave glass because the person cannot see far away objects. But during the case once you grow old, so because of aging process, the old people are going to suffer from hypermetropia. That is, the person cannot even see the nearby objects. And why does that happen? Because of the lens की जो capacity है, lens is not able to accommodate to the lights that are coming by, and because of that what will happen, the image will not be formed onto a correct spot. Image पीछे बनेगी, and since it is formed behind the retina, it needs to be corrected by the convex lens, and once it is corrected by the convex lens, the person is going to be able to see with that particular correct convex lens number. So this convex lens, what is it going to do? These convex lenses in normal terms is also called as reading glasses. Yani, you might have heard from your grandparents that during to read the newspapers, they are putting on their spectacles. So newspaper padhte time या book padhte time, they are putting on their glasses, which are these convex lenses, to help them see the objects that are close enough. So here you can see how the person who has a normal vision is going to be seeing both the far and the nearby objects. जबकि myopic vision में background blur हो जाएगा, background में यानी दूर की चीजें नहीं देख पाएगा, जबकि hypermetropia में the person cannot focus onto the nearby objects. The third kind of disorder of eye is going to be presbyopia. So presbyopia is again a common defect in the old age people because of loss of elasticity of the lens. Lens, इतने सालों से इतने जनरेशन से वो काम कर रहा है to accommodate, यानी वो कभी दूर की चीजें देख रहा है तो it is getting stretched out, पास की चीजें देख रहा है तो it is getting spherical in shape. So always changing shape, the elasticity of the lens is going to give up at some time, and once it gets point at which now the lens cannot shift its focal length, at that time presbyopia will occur, and presbyopia can be corrected by the help of convex lenses. So here you can see how the presbyopic eye is going to see the particular image. The next is astigmatism, wherein because of the rough curvature of the cornea, because of some problem in lens, the person cannot see, it will be or smudged image है, यानी अगर एक ही पॉइंट पे कोई इमेज देखनी है, इंस्टेड ऑफ दैट नॉर्मली सीइंग वन डॉट, वो पूरा ऐसे स्मर्ज हो जाएगा. सो दैट इज नथिंग बट एग्मेटिज्म. So that can be corrected with the help of cylindrical glasses. So here you can see when the person has the defect, how are the lights visible to that person, whereas the person who has normal vision, how will he see that particular point of light. The next is going to be cataract. So cataract को सफेद मोतिया भी बोलते हैं. That is during the old age when there is going to be opaqueness of the lens. So opaqueness of the lens जब आ जाती है या एक layer form हो जाती है over the lens because of the time run that the eyes were working, then that forms a cataract which can be surgically removed, and again the person can have somewhat a better vision. So cataract again seen majorly in the old people. The next is going to be glaucoma. So glaucoma is going to occur because there is going to be increase in the intraocular pressure. Intra है यानी that is inside, but किसके अंदर? Ocular. Ocular is the word that is referred for eye. So eyes के अंदर जो हमारा दो fluids होता है, that is aqueous humor and the vitreous humor. When there is going to be excess of pressure from this particular fluids, there is going to be blockage of the canal of skin. Canal of skin जैसे ही block हो जाती है, the fluid cannot make its exit. That is speaking about aqueous humor. So aqueous humor पे जब प्रेशर आना शुरू होता है, विट्रस ह्यूमर पे भी इफेक्ट आएगा, एंड द ऑप्टिक नर्व इज गोइंग टू गेट compressed. Optic nerve के ऊपर pressure आएगा, it will damage the optic nerve, and that can lead to permanent blindness, and permanent blindness that is called as kala motia. So this is very important to understand. Kala motia is glaucoma, whereas safed motia is going to be cataract. Because cataract में here you can see the person who has cataract, how he is going to look at his eyes. Cataract पे white foggy layer form हो जाएगी, जबकि glaucoma is going to be, the sideways is going to get blackened out. So blackening of that vision is going to be called as glaucoma or kala motia. So here you can see when the person has normal vision, you can see the entire region. Early glaucoma में the corners are going to start to get blackened, right? Corners black होना शुरू होंगे of the visual region. Advanced glaucoma third stage पे you can see that the ends of this particular image have been blackened and only the central circular area can be visualized, whereas in extreme glaucoma, that is stage 4, much smaller part of the area can be seen and धीरे धीरे करके ये area और advance होगा and it will turn out to have the complete blindness. So because of that, glaucoma is very critical area कि अगर glaucoma आया है, you go and start the treatment so that you do not turn permanently blind, because it is affecting the optic nerve. So pressure कम जैसे ही हो जाएगा from the optic nerve, again it will start towards the normal vision. So that was about all the different kinds of disorders that can happen with the eye. So we have seen with the third sense organ about eye, the different parts of eye, then the protective structures in and around, and the disorders of eye as well. So if you like this video, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel. Until the time we come back soon with the next part of this chapter with another sense organ. Till then, bye bye everyone. Thank you.